Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Deep Dive. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. The Middle East has witnessed an unprecedented and dramatic escalation in conflict over the past 24 hours as war between Iran and the combined forces of the United States and Israel continues to expand across multiple fronts. What began as a targeted military campaign has now moved into a wider regional confrontation with strikes, counter-strikes, diplomatic fallout and civilian casualties mounting swiftly. According to assessments from international monitoring groups, the joint military operations have systematically targeted Iranian air defenses, missile production sites and regime infrastructure. The campaign has resulted in thousands of military and civilian casualties within Iran. On your screen, you can see the damage caused by U.S.-Israeli airstrike in Tehran's Gandhi hospital. At the center of the conflict is Iran's determined retaliation following a massive joint strike campaign by the U.S. and Israeli forces deep inside Iranian territory. Over the past 24 hours, Iranian missile and drone barrages have continued to strike U.S., Israeli and allied assets across the Middle East. Iranian forces have repeatedly launched waves of ballistic missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles from intercepted, others reaching their targets in an effort to counter the U.S.-Israel offensive and assert military pressure beyond Iranian borders. On your screen, you can see the damage caused by Iranian missiles in Israel's Petah Tikva. One of the most significant developments in the last day came from Saudi Arabia, where Iranian drones struck the U.S. Embassy compound in Riyadh, causing localized damage. Officials confirmed that blasts triggered small fires, but their diplomatic personnel had taken shelter and no casualties were immediately reported. This represents a stark expansion of the conflict outside the Iran-Israel axis and signals Tehran's intent to hit U.S. targets directly. Similarly, embassies and U.S. facilities throughout the Gulf region, including in Kuwait, have been targeted by Iranian aerial attacks or have been under threat, prompting emergency evacuation orders and heightened alert status amongst Western diplomatic outposts in the region. In response to these Iranian counter-attacks, Israel and the United States have maintained intense pressure on Tehran. Reports defense sources indicate that large parts of Iran's nuclear and missile infrastructure have been bombarded, including sections of the Natanz nuclear enrichment complex. There have been fresh airstrikes in Urmia, Iran, creating widespread panic across the city. You can see on the screen a visual released where Indian Kashmiri students are at Urmia University. The strike happened just 300 meters from the Indian boys' dormitory. IDF has claimed that they struck the Iranian regime's leadership compound, the central headquarters, which has now been dismantled after the strike. The strike on the complex, of course, had taken place and numerous munitions were dropped there on the presidential office as well as the building of the Supreme National Security Council. Notably, the conflict has drawn in external theaters of war. To the north of Israel, Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon have engaged in exchange of fire with Israeli ground forces. Rocket barrages and aerial strikes have been reported from Lebanon's south. On your screen, you can see projectiles fired from Lebanon seen over the Beirut skyline. Israeli troops have moved deeper into Lebanese territory as the militant group continues to coordinate attacks with Iran's command structure. Politically, the conflict has reverberated globally. France has now taken a drastic step as well, speaking at the Île-et-Longue naval base on France's Atlantic coast, home to the country's ballistic missile submarines. Macron has said he had decided to expand France's arsenal for the first time since at least 1992. France currently maintains fewer than 300 nuclear warheads. On the other hand, Iran held a mass funeral for 165 schoolgirls and staff killed in a joint United States-Israeli airstrike on a girls' school in the southern city of Minab. State television showed large crowds gathered in a public square where mourners carried coffins draped in the Iranian flag. Men waved national banners while women dressed in black chadors stood in solemn rows. From a stage, a grieving mother raised portraits of the victims, calling them a document of American crimes. As chants of death to America, death to Israel and no surrender echoed through the crowd. Amidst all of this, a surprising thing happened. The Iranian women's national soccer team made a silent protest during the opening match of the Women's Asian Cup, as they refused to sing their national anthem, which was played over the speakers at the Sibas Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. In a major relief effort, Air India operated its first special rescue flight, AI 916D, bringing back 149 stranded passengers from Dubai to Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport. The airline also repatriated over 140 crew members as coordinated efforts continue to ensure the safe return of Indian nationals from the conflict-affected region. In summary, the past 24 hours of this conflict represent not just continued engagement between Iran and U.S.-Israeli forces, but a marked widening of the battlefronts. As the situation remains highly fluid, intelligence sources warn that further escalation, including retribution from Iranian proxies, additional foreign involvement, and broader regional conflict cannot be ruled out. Joining us live is Major General G.G. Dwivedi, defense expert. Major General Dwivedi, how do you view the conflict's increase in the last 24 hours, the new war theaters that we're seeing, of course, now in Lebanon, as well as more parts of the Middle East? Is this conflict now only increasing with each passing hour?
Well, Uday, thank you. I think this is the fourth day of the war, and definitely the war has expanded in multiple dimensions, both geographic region as also the weapon systems and the political ramification as well. Well, coming to the battle zone, the war is now, I think, in the complete Middle East region, the Gulf countries, Syria, Iraq. All these are now engulfed because Iranians have chosen to strike far and wide and not restricting to the only Israelis and the U.S. assets. Second point is, very rightly you brought out the proxies. You know, they have been playing a very major role in last about 20 years. And coming specifically to Hezbollah, you know, let's not forget that Hezbollah is a child of Iran, because in 1982, when Israelis attacked Lebanon, that's the time that Hezbollah was formed, and it has now emerged as a major proxy, and their strength is estimated to be around 1 lakh, but I think if realistically they are about 30 to 50,000, well armed with the rockets, almost 100,000 or more projectiles. And in 2006, Hezbollah had given a 34 days fight to Israelis. So therefore, you are very right that geographically, while conventional engagements and counter engagements are taking place in the Middle East, the proxies are also showing up ahead, especially Hezbollah, and quite likely that even the Houthis will get activated and ensure that the waterway of Red Sea is also interdicted, and possibly Hormuz, which is de facto right now, is not operational. I think more action could be seen here. So in nutshell, Uday, the war has intensified, it has expanded in geographic regions, and the proxies also getting involved into this conflict. Uday.
Yes, indeed. Major General Dwivedi, also what we've seen finally is the partial reopening of airspace in certain parts of the Middle East, which have led Air India finally to operate a flight rescuing some of those stranded, including their own crew members. Do we expect this airspace to only reopen further in the next 24 hours? Because obviously that is of interest for our Indian diaspora and some Indians too who are stuck there.
Absolutely, this is one of the impact, that is the airspace or the aviation industry has been highly impacted, and especially the impact is on the Indians, because we have a large diaspora of Indians in this Middle East, or especially the Gulf region. About 9 million Indians are working there or living there. So therefore, this is a direct, I would say, impact on our citizens. And in such war-like environment, opening airspace is very risky, because they can be like, in the Kuwait, 3 of these American fighters went down because of the air defense and the protocols there. So there can be accidental shooting. So it has to be taken care that when you open the airspace, you create a safe corridor, where we call it gun tight, means no weapon will fire in that corridor. Now those sort of precautions and protocols have to be observed, but it is all depends how the battlefield or the war zone is actually shaping, and in case it is further intensifying, then you may not get the windows, but the effort will be by the Indians and with the corresponding governments of the Gulf region, that they try and at least create short windows, so that the emergency cases, some cases which are really in urgency due to health reason or otherwise, they are able to make a getaway from the region, but all I can say is that opening airspace in the battle zone is very risky, and it is liable to accidental fire, which can cause huge amount of casualty. Let's say suppose an aircraft comes down, it will bring down 200, 250 passengers, and that will be catastrophic, Uday.
All right, I appreciate you joining us, Major General Dwivedi, with your perspective on that segment.